Hello.
Hi.
Hi. How's it going? Nice
Well,
poem.
oh my God, thanks for
Yeah.
noticing.
Yeah.
Welcome. This is a new podcast brought to you by the people that did a different podcast once upon a time that nobody listened to,
Yeah.
except for, I don't know, there were a handful of friends who listened to it, but we decided to start all over again. Throw that one out
Start again.
to start again. This one's about coffee coach, Will Frith, coffee coach.
Hi.
We've decided that instead of talking to people constantly about cafes and coffee business and then not and then like repeating ourselves, mainly this guy repeating himself over and over and over again, we're just gonna record it.
Yeah. Why not? And then I can just share it.
Yeah, and then you don't have to ask us, quit asking us, just we'll be like, listen to episode number 1.
Actually, keep asking us because we'll probably need more content later.
I don't know, I think there's a lot. If you just look at all of your emails to people where they're like, hey, can I pick your brain, just search pick your brain in your Gmail and you're gonna find lots of
That'll be triggering.
So first of all, people ask you a lot of questions.
I do get asked a lot of questions. Like, who does he think he is?
What are you wearing? What's that smell? That's me. That's my question. My most asked question. Did you fart?
What's that smell?
You get asked a lot of questions, unsolicited questions.
Yes.
And back in the day when your future was bright and you had a lot of energy and time on your hands, it wasn't a big deal for you
Well, it was great. And, naturally, I have a predisposition to be a people pleaser and I want people to like me. So I was like, all right, here's a way to get people to like me is I will help them answer their questions
Yeah.
about coffee stuff.
Well, and as a result, I think you've inspired a lot of coffee careers. Certainly the people that we work with, some of whom have been working with you for 10 years almost, see you as like a mentor, and you provide them with a lot of structure at the beginning of their careers when they were trying to figure out like, where do I go? How do I start? What should I do?
Yeah. Where do I get this? Who can I connect with on this subject?
And then there's
Things
also like a lot of cafes and coffee businesses that you sort of mentored through startup phase.
Yeah.
And then you started your own business, and then that it takes a lot of your time.
Yeah, as the responsibilities of the business start to take more and more of my time, I have less and less time to be repeating the same information to different people. So why not package it up and make it easier to find and faster to get?
Instant.
And you have to listen to the video.
This
so
is
it's
not a video.
Really instant.
This is a podcast.
You have to listen to the podcast.
We're making a video because apparently you have to do both now.
That's so weird. Why
not.
are you watching a podcast?
Get a life.
It's weird.
No, I don't watch podcasts, but I follow podcasts that I like.
Yeah.
And they will post on Instagram a video of them talking.
Oh, yeah, I've seen
and
that.
It's like a little sneak preview of the podcast, and I'm like, oh, I like them. And I listened to podcasts for years not knowing what people looked like, and then video podcasting became a thing, and now I get to see people's faces. That's cool.
Yeah, that's all right. I mean, I guess that's been a thing. You like, for people who watch things like Howard Stern or whatever,
right?
Like, they've been doing videos of that talk show forever. Right. So yeah. It does make sense.
This is a talk show.
It's a talk show.
This is a coffee expert.
I'm the guy.
This is a coffee expert, and we're just gonna suck all of the information out of his head, bit by bit.
That sounds horrible.
Until it lives in the ether, and he can move on and do something else with his life.
Is that what dying is like?
Having everything sucked out of the top of your head
and put into the ether?
Yeah. Maybe. Let's ask some dead people.
All right. You know any?
Oh my God. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I knew some people.
Did you just say, do I know any dead people? Yes. Have you forgotten? Yeah, I know some dead people.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess what I was getting at was like the present tense of knowing people.
Legit, I know
Yeah.
dead people. I
Oh,
literally
okay.
talk to my brother constantly.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I guess that's knowing them.
Anyway, I have a question.
Okay.
This is my question.
Okay.
I am a cafe owner. I'm a coffee business owner. I'm not a coffee expert. I run a coffee company, but I could be running a company that makes whistles. You know, like it doesn't matter. I could.
That's pretty cool.
We could be making whistles.
Could we disrupt the whistle game?
I think so.
Yeah.
Somebody ought to.
Yeah.
So
nobody take that idea.
I run a coffee company, but I don't know. I don't know, nor do I really care to know that much about coffee, except where it intersects my business needs. And if I wanted to have a coffee career, I guess I could, but it's not something that I feel really compelled to do. Instead, I'm interested in having a successful coffee business.
Okay, I'm gonna stop you right there.
Great.
And just say that's great. For those of you who might be listening or watching,
or both,
simultaneously, you might feel intimidated wanting to start a coffee business or a coffee related business, but you don't have experience or expertise in coffee. And I'm here to say that's all right.
Cool.
You can do what you want.
Yeah.
Because I've also been repeating this phrase, which I don't mind repeating right now. Trust specialists. So you're not going to make yourself an instant specialist in a thing that you haven't done before, but maybe you bring all these other skills to the game.
Are you sure? Because that sounds cooler to become an instant expert rather than suffering through a decade of.
I got to figure out how to make that work, and then I'll make it a product.
But it's true that a lot of people come to you with that in mind, where they're like, "Let me get as much information as I can as quickly as possible, so that I can just be successful."
So I can be an expert instantly,
right.
After reading the email response. Yeah. So don't fear, because actually there are a lot of excellent coffee bars that open and close within a short span of half a year, because they've got all the expertise in coffee. They know their bourbones from their typicas, and they know how to extract exactly this percentage out of their espresso. And they've forgotten what they've done is they've opened a business, and there are a lot of non-coffee related things that they have to pay attention to make that business stay alive. It's not about like trying to gather as much cash as you can and then Scrooge McDucking yourself,
diving into
your gold coins and
which
going
would
for
hurt.
a swim. That would totally hurt. That would not work in the real world. But the illustration of the point.
I get it.
Yeah, it's not about being a greedy capitalist. It's about keeping your business alive, keeping your staff employed, so you're not wasting their time.
Right.
And maybe paying them better, treating them well, offering benefits, being like a central hub for your neighborhood. So there's all these other things around the cafe business that more coffee people should pay attention to.
That's the shit I pay attention to.
And so you're a specialist. You've got those skills.
God.
So hooking up with me in this cafe business, we've got...
Oh, I thought you meant in 2002 in Galveston, Texas.
When we met. When we join forces, it makes a better business.
It's true.
Right?
Yeah.
And in your cafe, if I may speak for it, you outsource the food production.
True.
You just buy things and you assemble them to create a product.
Yeah, sort of like coffee. Like I buy coffee beans, I buy milk. I use my baristas and my machines to make a latte.
Right.
I don't want to be a baker.
Exactly. Well, and respect to all the bakers out there. Maybe we shouldn't open a business doing a thing that we've never done before.
I mean, no, I think that's cool. I think that's fun. Doing something you've never done before. But
not
specializing
as a business.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, well that brings me to my actual question, which I wrote down so that I wouldn't forget it. Oh, I have lots of messages. I'm going to ignore those. Okay. How do you know you've got a viable concept instead of just a good idea? So I heard a quote about ideas that I wanted to share.
Okay.
Ideas are like elbows. Everybody's got one, but you need help to see if there's any shit on yours.
Oh, that's a pretty good.
Because I can't. Although now that I can see it on the video, I can't. I could look in the mirror.
You need technology.
Okay, but I couldn't. I need perspective.
But the point is great.
Thank
you.
I
like the analogy.
Me too. Yeah. So like when I started Bell, I thought I had such a cool concept.
Yeah.
From the design to the ethos to the the menu, like all of it. But Rubber Meets the Road was sort of a different story.
Yeah.
When it came time to actually run the business. And so like earlier on in that process, how could one be able to determine whether what they've got is just a good idea, an elbow, or like a viable concept that's going to pay its own bills within, whatever your break-even point is?
Well, I think, okay, so from both perspectives, well, actually, I'll start with the simple and maybe wrong answer, which is you just have to try it out, see if it works. Throw the spaghetti against the wall. That's fair. And some people succeed at that. And I'm not going to like diminish the value of like all the lessons and growth that someone can get from that experience, but it is freaking terrifying. Inexpensive. Yeah, especially if you're pouring your life savings or somebody else's life savings into this.
Right.
So maybe that's not a risk that you're prepared to take, right? So park that one aside.
Okay.
Business planning. And this is where your skill set came in handy.
This is about coffee coaching, not about Cal coaching.
Well, but I am here to say trust specialists.
That's true.
And I'm not a specialist in business planning.
Well, neither am I. I just found some tools that made me feel less like a ding dong.
Oh, yeah.
Where this podcast is sponsored by Live Plan. It's not.
Live Plan, come sponsor us.
Live Plan is the best and most valuable business planning tool that I've ever found, and I've looked at lots of them. I've used lots of them. I've used free ones. Mm-hmm. They're not as useful or helpful. Live Plan basically writes a business plan for you. Excuse me, especially in terms of the financial projections, which are that's the hardest part.
Yeah, I was amazed when I thought she was like working some internet voodoo when I first saw her using that. So,
yeah.
I think like a good, like solid business plan is essential.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, back before that, I might not have thought that. Also, talk to other business owners. Maybe you don't have to talk to the cafe that's closest to the place that you're hoping to open, but there might be some people in your network that who run a different type of business or something, and they're often connected in the local business community enough to be able to kind of make a good gut reaction or like just a good educated guess as to like whether your idea is going to work in this current business landscape.
It's true. And like being friends with other business owners has given me like, oh my God, like invaluable resources, like people like Quang sitting down with me and being like, how much are your cogs? And I'm like, what's a cog? Like not even, I have no idea when I first started. And then, like working with Yusuf on, sourcing and stuff like that. Like being able to have homies that have been there and understand it.
The great thing about coffee is most people love it. And when you're involved in the coffee business in some way or another, that just attracts an automatic kind of community towards you. And so what that community and those connections can bring you, you don't know at the time that you're building it, but eventually you want to start a cafe or some kind of out there weird concept, and you need some other people to act as a sounding board for you. So like use those sounding boards.
And be that sounding board.
Yeah, definitely repay the favor.
That brings me to my second question. Not at all. I just didn't have a good segue.
Oh.
Do I need to remineralize my water? Is that a 100% requirement for espresso? If I'm filtering my water, or let's say I live in a an area that has like really good tap water, how important, and I genuinely do not understand, even though you've told me several times, why mineralization matters for coffee.
Right.
So I'm throwing that out there.
I think we found a new name for this podcast. It's called It Depends. Because I'm going to answer a lot of questions that way.
Okay.
It depends mainly on your water source. So every city is pulling their water from some source, and the variation in water across the United States, across Southeast Asia, across Australia, even, it varies really widely. And so, for example, in San Diego, California,
ugh, can we live there?
I'd love to,
Somebody
except their
give...
water sucks.
Oh.
Their water has something like a 650 ppm, and that is super high.
Parts per
Like,
million.
yeah,
and that just means like what, gunk?
That's like stuff, like
yeah,
usually minerals.
yeah.
And what that leads to is, for example, I think the FDA's recommended like cap is something like 400 ppm.
So what's up, San Diego?
So they have to figure out a way to.
But I mean, like the FDA would be like, nah.
Well, but the FDA doesn't control municipal water supplies. That's a whole different thing.
Thank God. So, am I right?
Yeah. Who needs the feds in your water? But so the water varies, and then, for example, in like Portland, Oregon, something like 40 ppm.
Wow.
So way below the threshold.
Why did we ever leave Portland? Maybe that's why my hair was better in Portland. It was like
There's
happier.
so many reasons.
That my hair was better in Portland.
No, so many reasons to enjoy the thought of living in Portland.
Yeah. Let's enjoy that thought.
Give us a moment. That was enjoyable.
I'm still there.
Sorry.
Okay.
Pull you back so
All right.
quickly.
Sorry. It depends.
It depends on your location. So in the case of Portland, no, you don't need to remineralize it.
Okay.
You just filter it for chlorine and other gunk.
Okay.
If you want some different performance out of your coffee brewing water, maybe you will want to add some minerals.
This podcast is sponsored by Third Wave Water. It's not, also not.
Not really, and I would not recommend using a consumer level product like that for a commercial venture, because it would just be way too expensive and impractical to mix that much water.
Okay, but we do sell that on our website, which is building.coffee, if you're in Vietnam. If you're not, I mean, get here as quick as you can.
Yeah, or you can order directly from Third Wave Water if you're in other markets.
Our sponsor.
Our sponsor.
Just kidding.
Nobody's sponsoring us. So it depends.
Yeah.
Right. And so in Portland, I know a lot of cafes that are just happy with a regular carbon block filter. And what a carbon block does is it just attracts organic and some other materials and lets the rest of the water pass through it.
Okay.
And it makes the water safe to drink.
And you just clean your filter periodically.
And occasionally you change the filter. If you know how to clean carbon filters, that's even better. But that's like a whole thing. Trust specialists.
Yeah.
And then in San Diego, they have to use reverse osmosis.
Like we do here.
No, we don't have to do that here.
We're in Vietnam, by the way.
Yeah,
I feel like anybody watching this knows that.
Yeah.
Because like, why else would you have found this?
I don't know. Could be random.
Not watching, listening. This
watching
is a podcast.
and listening.
Well, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe just watching.
They've stopped listening.
But not listening.
So in San Diego, they have to use reverse osmosis to completely strip everything out of the water. It's basically distilled when it comes out. And so that means the water has nothing in it. So that's bad for two reasons. If you just use direct nothing in it water, one, the contacts inside your espresso machine can't tell that there's water in it if there's no minerals in the water.
No way.
Because you could take a bath in, theoretically, don't try this, in distilled water, knock your toaster into it, and it would not electrocute you.
Shut up.
Because it's actually the minerals in the water that are conductive.
I feel like this would be a great subplot in a spy novel where
Like
someone like
somebody
fakes
fakes
their
their
death
death in
in a
front of someone.
bathtub.
But then how do you get that like whole shock and pop and the smell and yeah.
Pyrotechnics.
Yeah, I guess pyrotechnics.
It's a
Okay,
novel.
we're
It's a
solving
novel.
so many different kinds of problems right now.
I know, right? What's your next novel about?
So so what you'll need after you've stripped everything out of that 650
Can I interrupt
parts.
you?
Yeah.
Do you know what I thought you were gonna say?
What?
If you could take a bath in distilled water, the water like wouldn't touch you somehow. There would be this membrane of.
Actually,
Actually,
according to physics,
yeah.
You're not touching anything ever
Oh man.
because it's like your electron clouds or something that
Yeah.
are like in proximity, and there are forces that are keeping them from actually touching.
And a Buddhist would say you're not actually ever experiencing anything because you're always one thought away from experience.
Oh yeah, yeah. And then like a stoner would say, "Man, isn't it a trip to realize that you're actually experiencing the past because it takes time for you to process the moment that you're in, so you're never actually truly present."
Oh my god,
dude. Yeah.
So reverse osmosis in San Diego.
San Diego, yes. Reverse osmosis.
How sick of San Diego do you think San Diegans are?
I don't know.
I might love it forever if I was.
Yeah, I guess it depends on how big a fan of Anchorman they are.
Which most people are not, because it's really terrible, actually.
So you strip all this stuff out of the water, and then you add something back. And so mineralization is actually really popular in places with a super high mineral content because
Why?
they have to reverse osmosize. That's not a real word.
So I'm so confused. So they reverse osmosis means you take everything out of the water, but then to make coffee,
you have to put
or
some,
to electrocute somebody in a bathtub,
right,
you have to put some back.
Yeah.
Why can't you just take some out and not have to add it back?
Well, reverse osmosis is kind of a full on or full off kind of deal.
I see.
But what some of those filtration systems include, actually all of them, is blend back.
Oh.
So after your carbon filter comes the reverse osmosis stage, and that strips everything out of the water. You can have a split line from that going to your blend back, and then you turn a knob, a valve, to put a certain percentage of the original water back in until you reach the mineral content.
But does it go through a carbon filter first so that you don't have like
before the
fish
whole thing
guts or like antidepressants or there's all kinds of crazy shit in water?
Yes,
there is.
No, there isn't.
What?
Oh God! Stop spreading myths.
Is there not antidepressants in the water?
No. When municipalities around the world even clean the water and put it into the water system, it is fit to consume. It is for
like
the
I could
most
drink
part.
out of a straw in my toilet.
Okay. Yeah, you could.
It's the same water that comes out of the tap.
You could. You could. I don't know why you wouldn't just put your head under it, just like drink a little from
the toilet.
From the
I'm saying
faucet.
the toilet.
What are you, a cat?
A dog. I don't think cats drink out of the toilet, do they?
I just watched our cat do that.
Which
yesterday.
Which one?
Gerard.
Of course. I'm so proud of him.
Orange guy.
You know, he's so resourceful.
He's such a dog.
I know.
So in the reverse osmosis with blend back, you've got remineralization.
And it's not gunk.
And it's not gunk because it's been filtered even before the reverse osmosis.
But we couldn't do that here because there is a lot of gunk in our water.
There is gunk in the water, and it doesn't have a high mineral content.
So you need it double time.
So here what we've done, since we don't need reverse osmosis really, we just use a carbon block filter to take out gunky stuff.
Because there's not a lot of minerals.
Right. And we have the pre-filter or the sediment filter, and that is basically just like a big sponge that absorbs like solid junk. Like maybe there's construction down the street and they have to cut the pipe to add another service line. Yeah. And there's a little bit of clay that gets in. Or
somebody killed someone and put the body in the sewer, and there's like.
But it goes in the sewer, not in the water.
Those are
separate systems.
I like thinking of horrible things in the water.
I don't know why this is related to coffee.
It is because I think about water carrying so many things. For example, it's true. I swear, I'm not making this up. That in cities they were testing the sewage, not the water, the sewage for coronavirus.
Yeah.
Because they could predict when outbreaks would end based on how much of the coronavirus they saw in the sewage.
That's actually the most reliable source of data for coronavirus infections because people don't test
enough or often enough.
And
now I realize that sewage and drinking water are not the same, except they are. And one goes through a process to become the other, and then it goes through another process, our bodies, to become the first.
Okay, yeah.
That's so legit. It like even the best filtration system, there's going to be remnants of.
Not really.
Damn it.
No.
I just really want that to be true for some reason.
You've been drinking poop your whole life, honey. Poo water. I can see that on a bottle. You know that le poo. It's fancy.
No.
Yeah, when you put le in front of it.
Yes.
Yeah. Le poo.
Le poo.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I've derailed this so completely.
It was
my question in the first place.
Yeah, you asked. But so yes, the reason you need minerals at the right level to brew your coffee is because they make extraction more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're a fan of light roast coffees or coffees with delicate, complex flavors, then if you're brewing it with just like regular old tap water in most places, you're going to get like kind of like just this mid experience with it. You're just not going to experience the good parts of the highs or the good parts of the lows.
Because the coffee molecules don't have anything to hang on to.
Exactly.
They just go through.
Right. It's like you're trying to sand something with silk. Right. You're just not going to get much of that surface off of there. And so like these molecules, they come in, they're certain shapes and they have different bumps and edges, and the molecules in the coffee that we want are attracted in specific ways to those things.
Cute.
Yeah. And so it's like you're trying to give somebody a buddy to go out into the beverage so you can consume it and turn it into the thing that you were
my favorite
talking
thing
about.
Sewage.
Who would have thought?
I really didn't know that about myself until today.
Well, we learn new things every day.
Listen, that's all the time we have for today.
Oh.
I just want to keep it light. I don't want to go forever.
Oh yeah.
Do you want to? Is there anything you want to add to the mix before we say goodnight?
Well, I would say that it's kind of weird to think about sewage and drinking water.
Yeah, they're the same thing.
Yeah, they are kind of the same thing.
And they really do go through a process.
And water, like, for the most part, has been here all this time, going through many different people's bodies, coming out, going through some regenerative or recycling process, and then entering other people's bodies and animals' bodies.
I have a question.
And
is all the water in the world right now all the water there's ever been? Can the world make new water? Moisture.
Unless like comets and meteors bring ice from outer space.
Cool.
Yeah, it's pretty much all been here.
So we're all made of ancient water.
Ancient materials, really. Yeah.
But like all of the water that exists has always existed.
Well, let's go beyond that. All of the atoms that are on Earth have been reconfigured for eons, constantly, to make you and me and the people who lived 400 years before us or 400,000 years before us.
Thanks for listening to our coffee podcast.
And Stoner Talk.
Bye.